Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jake. Thank you for tuning in and or watching. This is the Talks and Crocs podcast. I'm your host, and we have our co-hosts Stacy and Chris, and guest John.
Yay!
Hello.
How is everybody doing?
I am doing fantastic, except for the existential dread that is the daily grind.
You need a red lightsaber right now.
I would love a red lightsaber.
Straight up. It would work perfect. Okay.
Could have brought one from home.
He has a lot.
How are you two doing?
Doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anything exciting happened this week for y'all?
Yeah. Mine goes with my happy, so
Well, we can
want me to go ahead and jump into that?
Transition.
Why not?
I say my happy is that we are moving offices at work, which normally would sound like a crappy, but the building we're in, the part of the building that we're in, is run down. So I'm super excited to have a new, cleaner, nicer office, and we are going to get rid of all the junk that's in my office finally.
Yay.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. So I was moving my desk today and moving my monitors off of it. I was using my laptop instead today. Cindy came in. She's not normally working on Fridays, and her son moved my desk for me over to the new office because it's just like 2 doors down because they started redoing the building on the other end of the building, and they're working their way, and we're in the next spot to be redone.
It's too bad it's not 3 doors down.
No, 3 doors down is the union.
I know.
I think that was a joke.
I know it was.
I knew where that button was.
And I guess my crappy is I've had shoulder pain for a few days, but
That's not good.
it's seeming
great.
like it's better today. It was really bad this morning, but
Do you think it was, something bad that happened, or was it just the kids again?
It's not my fault.
it's the cats. It's
It's
Arya
Chris.
sleeping on top of my shoulder.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's Arya.
You have lovable animals, but they don't always help.
Yeah.
Throw their weight around.
They love us until it hurts.
Kind of scary, really.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, they love you, but they would eat you. They're scary.
Yeah.
Animals are cute, but deadly. Don't
Can be.
underestimate them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Chris, what's yours? My voice cracked there. That was weird.
I'm happy because I had some type of illness this last weekend, and it's pretty much been dragging out the entire week, and I'm almost done with it.
Yeah, you sound good.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask about how you feeling, but
That's like a mix happy crappy right there.
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
mix NyQuil and Dayquil. It's the same thing. It's happy crappy. What?
I don't know if you want to mix both at the same time.
I've done it once, but I didn't drink all of it. I don't recommend it. Do not recommend it.
I'll take that as my happy and my crappy. Because
That works. That does work. John.
My happy is I have been listening to some CDs that I bought in Lincoln with some friends like probably half a week ago, and I am super into a song by Rush from the album Roll the Bones, and it is literally the song Roll the Bones.
It's a good song.
I don't know this song.
It is a very good song. Why are we here? Because we're here. Roll the Bones is one of the lyrics that's been sticking with me.
Huh.
Yeah, I have the CD right in the car. If we can pop it into any musical system that's around in any of the buildings. Not right now. Copyright
Yeah, we'll have
laws.
to listen to that later.
Sorry, listeners.
Speaking of songs, you guys remember your question last week, Chris, about pie or cake?
Yes.
And I brought up a certain song.
Yes.
Pie.
From the movie Michael.
Pie, me oh my, nothing tastes sweet, wet, salty, and dry. All it wants so well is pie. Apple, pumpkin, mince and mac bottom. I come to your place every day if you've got 'em. Pie, me oh my, I love pie.
I mean, it's ridiculously silly, but it's
It's
good
fun.
singer.
Is that Andy McDowell?
I have no idea. But it's a good show.
It sounds like McDowell.
I had to bring it up though because I tried getting that song going last week with the laptop. Couldn't get connected. I'm connected now.
It's good.
All
It's
right.
fun.
My happy crappy. My crappy, if you guys probably saw it on Facebook, had
Yeah.
a tornado run right by the house and took out a whole bunch of trees. Yeah, it was real scary. I was sitting there making bread, like kneading the dough on the counter. I could see that the storm's about done. Then all of a sudden, just got extremely loud, like super freaking loud. And then you just like start hearing things exploding outside, and that was all the trees blowing apart.
That's pleasant. And the house is completely fine.
Yeah, house is fine. It went right next to the house. And what was nuts, my motorcycle sitting out there, the signs that I used for selling honey and all that was sitting out there, kayaks sitting out there. None of those moved.
Hand of God.
Yeah, but it took out these trees, launched one of our largest trees on the place instead of right to the house, right past the house.
Yeah.
Hand of God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, then, speaking of that, we were outside observing the damage, Shawnee and I were. And we just kept, saying, thank God for that he was watching over us. He had to have been. And then we turn around and like a rainbow appears off in the distance.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Aw,
Yeah. I was
That's
like,
cool.
That's way too cool right
what
there.
a touch. Yeah.
It was like perfect. So, I don't know, that was kind of like my mix, happy, crappy. But last night, my Bible group that I'm in, they all decided to come out to my place and help me clean up. So
Oh, that
we got
was
at
nice.
least
Very nice of 'em.
got about half of it done.
Oh,
With
wow.
3 chainsaws and like 5-7 people working and a skid steer going with a grapple. But yeah, we got a lot of it done. I got a lot to do yet, but most of it's cut out of the dog yard, which I got to rebuild all that fence because it just destroyed it. Snapped 4x4 posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage from it, but hey,
The important stuff was saved.
yes. And the biggest important thing for me is the tree missed the house where Ronan would have been sitting on the couch. It was right next to the living room, and if that would have fallen the opposite direction, it would have landed right on him.
Hand of God.
Yep, and then I finished my bread. Got that made and mowed down after that. Nothing like fresh bread, butter, and honey.
Oh, yeah.
Just white bread?
Yeah, just white bread. But I did honey instead of sugar,
Oh, yeah.
so it was even
All the
better.
natural substitutes that you can do and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's a particular recipe I want to try from CCC of Hastings that was black bean chocolate cupcakes. Yeah,
Black
it's supposed to be a binder for it, and it provides extra protein, and, well, it's chocolate, so it's delicious.
I would try it.
interesting.
I would
Oh,
try
yeah.
it.
So,
I'd eat that down.
So how much honey is the substitute for sugar? Is it
I just did a
1-to-1?
1-to-1. That's all I did, and it came out just fine.
Okay. I'm going to have to try that. I like
Yes.
baking bread.
We happen to have some good honey.
Yeah, we do.
You still have some? You're not out yet?
They don't
I
go
run
through honey
through it.
that quickly.
I run through it.
If she doesn't make bread, we don't get very much bread at home, so
Yeah.
it keeps me from
Yeah, but
Destroying it.
we did buy bread when it got really hot. We still have a loaf.
right.
I found out you can't keep your homemade bread in a plastic Ziploc
Oh, no.
because then it molds really fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
it's impressive.
The best way that I've found to store it is in a airtight container, but you let it cool for at least an hour, because if you don't let it cool for at least an hour, then it's not cooled inside.
Yeah.
And then you put paper towels in the top and the bottom of the container, and
Yeah,
they don't
keep the moisture out.
Yeah, and it doesn't get soggy, and it lasts for about a week. So if your bread lasts that long, then it shouldn't mold.
See, we have one of those like bamboo type bread boxes where the lid just kind of rolls up into it. And they've been lasting a week and a half, and they're just fine. So
Yeah.
Good.
yeah, I'm real happy about that because I love homemade bread. Mm-hmm. And I've been the one making it lately, and I'll make like anywhere from 3 to 6 loaves at a time.
Oh
Wow.
Because I'll fly through it. But I found out, this is for all you weightlifters and such out there, your homemade white bread, if you about an inch thick slice, will give you 10 grams of protein. Just saying. Protein.
that.
Protein is good for bones.
It's good for bones.
Good, very good for bones.
Calcium is good. Yes.
Says calcium, yes, good. Okay.
He sounds like Colossus from the X-Men.
Oh, nice.
He does.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get. Because I think he does a protein bar, goes to give a girl a protein bar. He's like, protein is good for bones.
Yeah, that's who you sounded like.
And I did that at work, and one guy's like, "You Russian." So now every
Wow.
when he sees me, he goes, Yeah, you Russian. You're not American Russia. How's Moscow going?
You just need to play into it. Get one of the hats. Come in with the Russian anthem blaring in your phone.
Well, every now and again, if I'm like walking away with something, I'll be like, "До свидания." Just walk off. All right. So, anyone got anything else right now before we start moving into our topic?
Did he do his happy crappy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I totally missed it.
All right. I was just talking about Rush.
Okay.
Yeah, the song. Well,
Okay,
that was your
gotcha.
happy. Did you have a crappy? Or did I interrupt you?
Usual existential dread.
Oh, yep. Got it. Got it. Yep.
Yeah, no, nothing special.
I remember you talking about Rush. I just totally spaced it. I was like, man, I don't remember John doing his happy crappy.
You're fine.
I'm silly.
I was going to stop at Cane's. I forgot to. I was going to get some of that nice, sweet Arnold Palmer there, but I totally forgot about it.
I am so mad because I meant to get 2 cups of sweet Arnold Palmer, one for you, one for him. I didn't know what Stacy wanted, and I didn't even know that our audience was going to be here today. Not the listeners. We have 2 audience members.
Yes.
2 are right and people's lefts, respectively.
Yeah, we have Master Yoda and Freddie,
Hi.
who has been commenting on the YouTube, and I've seen everyone and appreciate them all.
Nice.
Awesome.
It helps.
I just don't know if I hit the like button. I need to make sure I do that.
All that
All right.
algorithm-friendly stuff.
Well, Miss Stacy, you want to lead us away into your list here?
Oh, sure.
I didn't get a list.
I know. I didn't make enough copies.
I can share with you, Chris.
It's all good.
If you
Okay.
need to look, it's right here.
So,
Okay.
what we're going to talk about today is spiritual gifts, and it's a heavily debated topic, but shouldn't be a reason for division in the church, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Just like the fruit of the Spirit, spiritual gifts are evidence that the Holy Spirit is dwelling inside of you. And there are a lot of references for where you can find this, but one of the biggest chunks is 1 Corinthians 12. It's verses 4 through 7. Let's see. There are different kinds of gifts, but they all originate from the Holy Spirit. Spiritual gifts are given to us so that we can help each other, and they are supposed to be used in love, not in judgment or condemnation. Without love, these gifts are empty and worthless. Gifts are given to serve others. We must not be prideful about our gifts. Each of us has at least one spiritual gift if you've been saved. I should preface that.
Yes.
Each gift is given to us for a specific purpose, and they are for building and uplifting the church. So, do you want me just to go through the list of what they are, and then we can expound on the ones that we relate to?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine. We can list it, and then whichever ones we associate with, we can go that route. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So the spiritual gifts that are mostly in 1 Corinthians 12. There's some other references for some of these. Prophecy, miracles, evangelism, tongues, interpretation of tongues, healing, pastoring, teaching, leading, service, helps, faith, discerning spirits, mercy, exhortation, giving, administration, word of knowledge, word of wisdom, and apostleship. But there are others that are listed elsewhere.
Yeah. And I know apostleship, that's a big one right now that people think can't happen anymore, and I'm on the fence with that one.
Well,
Because to me, the apostles, they were already here.
apostleship is, it's argued that it's a gift that's no
Yep.
longer in use today because it was needed when the church began. But some opinions are that apostle means messenger, one who is sent, and the opinion is that there's supernatural skills given to someone to start a new church or ministry, having a passion to plant churches and lay a foundation for pastors and church leaders, which
Yes.
that is definitely needed, and churches are still being planted. Mm-hmm. So if that's the gift of apostleship as laid out in the Bible,
Yep.
then it's actually still an active gift.
Yep. Yeah, once I saw those two, because I was listening to, I think, that video you put on Discord, and I saw those last two. I'm like, okay, yeah, so definitely it could still be around. Because an apostle originally was developed by the Romans, and they were meant to go in and change an area and bring them to their culture and make them more assimilated. They were the Borg of the past. You could kind of look at it that way. I never thought of that. I just thought of that now. They're the Borg.
In a less violent way.
Yeah. Well, was it less violent? I mean, I think the Borg would keep people alive more than the Romans would.
Well, yeah.
Questionably, yeah.
Hey, how many times do we think about Rome in a day?
At least once today for all
Yes.
of us.
12.
12?
Twice.
12 today.
Yeah, so like for them, it was going change the culture and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's where I was going with the apostles. It's like the original apostles, they were already here. They brought Christianity and all that. But then you
Right.
brought up those two in the video you sent. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can say that they're still around then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and some of these gifts are definitely heavily debated.
Yes.
Like tongues is heavily debated. Interpretations of tongues is debated. Some people say tongues is not for now, which I know that's inaccurate. Like I said before, I've been in groups where that's happened before.
Yeah.
So I, clearly know that that is a thing.
Yep. And I like how they said, I think it was that video, it might have been a different one I watched, where it talked about the speaking in tongues is like the language where you'll all of a sudden speak fluently in that language. It makes sense to me because I've seen videos of people doing that. Just
Yeah.
randomly, they'll tell a story about it. Like, yeah, all of a sudden I'm speaking Spanish. I never spoke that before.
Yeah.
That's a speaking in tongues thing
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, and see, I've been in two separate experiences where somebody has been speaking in tongues around me, and I heard it as English, so I didn't even realize they were speaking in tongues. So yeah, that one I know definitely still exists. It's definitely still an active gift.
Yep. What's the one that you go with, Stacy? I think I know because I think there's one that you talked about multiple times.
I have several. So the first one is the gift of prophecy, and it's given for encouragement, comfort, challenge, and to strengthen God's people. It can include visions or dreams. I've had visions and dreams of just things. It can provide revelation or reveal what is hidden. So I definitely have a gift of prophecy. I've had prophetic visions. I also have the gift of pastoring and teaching, which those two go together. All pastors are teachers, but not all teachers are pastors.
Yep, I like that in that video when he said that.
And I definitely have both of those. I haven't been active in the pastoring or the teaching, a lot lately, but I was a youth pastor for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I think.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and when I was in Kansas City, when Chris and I were dating, and before we were dating, I was a youth pastor of a small Baptist church. But they didn't call me the youth pastor because, of course, in Baptist churches, women can't be pastors. So I was just
yeah.
a youth teacher, but I was the pastor. So yeah, I have a gift in those areas. But like I said, I haven't used those as much recently. I've mostly been doing, which brings us to the next one, which is service. And service is having a passion to meet the physical needs of the church, having the heart to meet the practical needs of people. So that would be another one of my gifts, and that's one of them that's been very active lately. I also have discerning spirits. It's the ability to sense demonic spirits or to tell if a teaching is of God.
Yes.
So I definitely have that one.
I know I associate with that one majorly, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Exhortation, the ability to appeal to someone and have the right words to say, to encourage someone that's hurting, can encourage, console, and comfort in times of distress. I have that gift, and it comes out when I am around people that desperately need that. Let's see. Word of knowledge, the ability to know something they shouldn't know. The information is given to them by God and not acquired by natural means. And that one is another one that I have. And it goes hand in hand with the word of wisdom. Supernatural wisdom that's used to help diffuse conflict and provide clarity. It is information that's not known before. Wisdom that's not something that you don't have before. So yeah, I have quite a few, but a lot of those work together, like the prophecy and the words of wisdom and the word of knowledge. And the exhortation, all of that stuff works together.
It's kind of like we were talking about the fruit of the Spirit last week. You're not going to do just one thing. It's going to be multiple that ends up showing itself.
Yeah, and that video that I sent to Discord, it said everybody has at least one, but most people have multiples, and you have to pray and you have to read the Word to kind of figure out which ones you have.
Yeah.
So, and I was going through that list, and I'm like, oh, I have that one. I have that one. I have that one. So I had more than I thought I did. But it's not something we should boast in because it's a gift that was given to us, and you're not supposed. I mean, it's not of your own it's not your own power. It's given to you. It's not something we should boast about.
You ever heard any of these before, John?
No, I was going to say, as somebody who has never heard, I have been learning as we've been doing these podcasts, and I have been listening into a few of them. I never knew this was a thing. I always thought it was just in, the power of God gives you miracles and the power to do otherworldly things. I didn't know that they had, within the scripture, specific spiritual gifts that they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lay out in a few places specific things multiple times.
And I'm like, there's obviously a lot of overlap because in my mind, I think all of these could be put down to either a miracle, the power of God, or basically just having the talents that God has given you to do what you need to do. Stuff like being a teacher or a pastor. Like obviously some people make better pastors and teachers than others, but everybody can do it. But, just like, regular mundane skill to me, some people are better than others. I never really make the connection like, God is giving his power to do, give them a better job. I didn't know that was in the Bible. And, stuff like, mercy. Some people, for mundane folks who maybe they don't believe in the word of the God, maybe they're on me, they're kind of on the fence, they haven't been saved. We just think, well, that's just how they are. They're just really kind, giving, and all of that. Now I would still say that, but God made them that way to do what they need to do. It's just how I would put it. I never knew that there was something specific about it.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Now, are these what you want to talk about when you mentioned that? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to extrapolate?
Which ones are yours?
A lot more than I thought.
Yeah, well.
See, I haven't even gone through this whole list yet reading it. I should have earlier when we were waiting.
Here. Go ahead and...
Because I know one, because there's been a few others when I was researching that weren't mentioned in that video, but are listed like in examples throughout the New Testament, which one of them is the gift of deliverance, which I'll go on later.
I think this is all you,
on
man.
you, Chris.
This is you.
I definitely have prophecy, miracles, evangelism, tongues, all the time. I've never interpreted tongues, although I've seen it done. I've been part of healing.
You've done healing.
For interpreting, sorry, John, if you want to say something.
No, I'm over.
For interpreting tongues, if you don't know what that is, Paul said if someone is going to speak in tongues, you have to have an interpreter.
Right, because
In
usually...
like the church setting and the crowd setting, there needs to be an interpreter present.
Right.
Present. Otherwise, you shouldn't be speaking in tongues.
Right, because there have been a couple times when I was a younger lad, I went to church, youth church, and I was kind of about it, but I didn't really do a whole lot of studying. It was just what people did. They went to church. Not a lot of us understood, a lot about God or Jesus or reading the Bible. But there was a couple people that were from out of town. They were just kind of joining, and somebody prayed over me, had a hand on me, and they started speaking something. I was like, I don't know what he's saying, man. And I just let it go, and then somebody decided to just walk over, put his hand on his shoulder, and was completely silent the entire time. And afterwards I asked, what were they speaking? And I don't remember what they said. It certainly wasn't a straight on like, hey, he was speaking in Hebrew or something.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me you were speaking in tongues, but later on I understood they were speaking in tongues. I didn't understand a word of it. It sounded like gibberish to me, but
Yeah. That's what a lot of it sounds like, I think. All right. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
It's all good. There's a number of them here that I could say that I've been gifted with.
I know at least 3 more of them that are on that list that are you.
Service,
Yeah. Well, 4 more because I wasn't thinking about the service.
mercy, teaching. Teaching's huge.
Yep.
Exhortation, giving.
Yeah.
Helps.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
not this year at Pumpkin Fest because he was sick this year, but last year at Pumpkin Fest, he was wearing his I Heart GI T-shirt,
Yeah.
and one of the visitors is like, "Oh, that's such a cool T-shirt! I want one of those!" And he just gave her the T-shirt like literally off his back.
I could see it.
And Mercy is also another one of yours.
Yeah.
Melissa.
I wonder why she's walking in here. Melissa's coming over here.
We have a guest star appearance. She's at the door. She's,
No, she's
walking,
walking
away,
away.
everybody.
Goodbye. And is he leaving us? He's leaving us for a minute.
He's going to dash away for a minute.
Chris.
It's 6 o'clock.
I know. I just wanted to let him know.
All right. I don't know if we should pause here. We can keep going.
Well, I was about to say,
I'll say we can keep going.
keep
All right.
going for a little bit.
So, I was really expecting him to start extrapolating on stuff because he brought it up on the Discord and said he did a big study on this before. Are you going to hop on real fast?
Oh, yeah.
You got
Give it up for
Jedi, got Master Yoda.
Mother of Chris and the most bomb lady that you've ever met, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're lovely. You're lovely.
Just, you guys are discussing things that I definitely know a little bit about.
I imagine.
And what we have to remember as Christians is that when you're born again, there's like seeds planted in your spirit. As you grow in the Word of God, those seeds grow. And you might start out with being an exhorter. An exhortation is someone who goes around and really makes other people feel good, understand themselves, you know. Like, let's say you got a little kid that really wants to play ball, but is really lousy at it.
Yeah.
Your job as a gift in exhortation is to encourage that child. And if you know anything about ball, you teach that to that child.
Yes.
Okay? They grow, you grow. The more you use what gifts that you don't even know they're gifts at the time, the more you use it, the more gifts are going to develop in you. You guys were talking about speaking in tongues. I was at a church one time, and we had a couple visitors there. We didn't know them. They were from out of country. And someone got up and spoke in tongues. And nobody said too much. And these visitors, this one gentleman stood up, and he was from someplace, I think if it was in Africa or something like that. And he said, that gentleman just told me in my native language that we made the right move by coming to this country. And it was like, whoa. You know? But the thing of it is as you develop in each thing, you're growing continually in the other things that you've not experienced or used yet. You know, and just remember the greatest gift that we have is love.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And when you can love the unlovable, you're really growing.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that are really hard to love, but you can do it through Christ.
Yes. Was it the fulfillment of the law is love?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, someone's going nuts on a horn out there.
There's, you know, Jesus gave us 2 commandments, you know, to love the Lord God with all our
I'm
heart,
gonna
all
double
our
check
soul,
that isn't mine.
all our
Sorry.
might. and love others as we love ourselves.
Yeah.
And the key to that is you got to learn to love yourself. You love yourself, you can love many, 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 many unlovable people.
Yeah, you can't love others until you love yourself. If you
Yep.
hate yourself, then you hate other people. You see all your flaws in other people and you hate them and hate them for it.
I have a sheet at home that kind of reads, when you look in the mirror, I have it by a mirror, and when you look at the mirror, it says, on the paper, it says, I love myself because, and that lists different things that, that you feel like you're accomplishing. And it just kind of helps boost your self-image.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the harder things for people to do is end up finding a way to love themselves too.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect. That's what we have.
Yes.
The only thing perfect in us is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his job to help us change what needs to be changed.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
So we got Yoda here, and we have the Sith Lord over here with his black cloak.
I win.
Yeah.
Oh no, you'd win every time. And if this was actually Star Wars, you'd win because you have way more years on me.
I have way more years than you any day of the
Oh
week.
yeah.
By the way, I think the scariest Sith that could have ever happened would have been if Yoda went to the dark side.
Oh,
yeah.
Just saying.
And like during the Clone Wars, sorry, it's a tangent to Star Wars again.
It's fine.
During the
Totally
Clone
fine.
Wars, it was stated that he was going a little bit to the dark side because the Jedi were getting clouded, and they went to war.
Yeah.
They didn't want to, but it was Yoda was kind of going down that path, even though he was a Jedi Master.
Or was he standing up for what was right?
There's an argument for both sides. And, I mean, obviously I won't go into the entire conversation, but I don't really like the Jedi anyways. I don't like the Sith that much, and I don't like the Jedi that much. I always thought this does tie in a little bit with God. I always thought the Force was a little bit like, what type of Christian are you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
because
see
there's
that.
one side that's like very super structured. I'm not going to go into which type it is because I wouldn't have enough names to list it. But they're like the Jedi. They have a strict code. They're very pure. But on the other side, you have, I would say like brimstone and fire people that preach and, Old Testament God and Bible and all that.
On
And
one
then
side, you have the. God,
Get your
why did I
God.
just forget about it?
One side is the get you God, and the other side is love of
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there has to be that middle ground. Just like the Force.
No, that's fine.
Just like the Force, there needs to be a middle ground between,
Yeah.
structure and love. Both of them are very important.
Yes, we went on a Star Wars tangent.
We
here,
went on
Chris.
Star Wars, and I managed to link it into religion.
And while
and
Chris was
spirit.
gone, he missed it.
I know.
He'll have to listen to this part of the
Makes
podcast.
me proud.
Thank you.
Well, to be honest, when I've been watching Star Wars and thinking about it, there's a lot of stuff like that you find Christian vibes in.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't think that, if anything, Star Wars can be boiled down into, that's where they got the concept from, or that's where George Lucas got the idea from.
The For-
He got it from space operas, but
Yeah, the Force is a lot like the Holy Spirit. It's what gives us the
Yep.
power.
right.
So.
And then you got the whole the way. This is
Mm-hmm.
the way. That's an entire. That's what Christianity was first known as, was the way. So
Right.
Yeah.
just saying.
This is the way.
Well, to be technically accurate, when George Lucas went to write the original script for New Hope, he studied all of the different myth lore from all different cultures on Earth.
Really?
So he grabbed a lot of things from different places. But there's,
Well, I mean-
heavy Christian undertones.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if anything, just from everywhere, there's a heavy evil versus good
Oh, yeah.
and all that, and it's very evident in Christianity.
I still wish he would have gone the evil route with Jar Jar Binks. I'm just saying.
Oh,
He would
yeah.
have been a great Sith.
I don't like Jar Jar.
I still
Binks.
think he was a Sith.
He could have been. He could have been something fun though. Think about it, Chris.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Instead of him
Yeah.
being silly, he's actually worth something.
Like he was silly on purpose.
Yeah.
How does he go from the crazy wacky guy to all of a sudden Big Bob Man General? You know, all of a sudden he's general. He was
Because he was
banished to
promoted.
general. From banished to general, though.
How many generals have you seen promoted that shouldn't be generals? How many presidents have you seen get elected that shouldn't be presidents?
Oh,
A lot.
shots fired.
The Talks and Crocs channel.
How many pastors have you seen become pastors that shouldn't be? I mean, I can do this all day. How many general
But
managers?
here. He did a bunch of like force jumps, and then he'd fall and land and be fine.
Oh, that's
No, that's just 'cause
natural
he has-
He
ability
does
of the
the
race.
super aerobatics,
Acrobatics.
Acrobatic.
That's just because he has the double jump in the Lego game. That's all it is.
It's part of the race.
I remember being
my
a kid and
gosh.
trying to do double jump stuff, and it never worked.
I had some bad times with jumps. I don't want to talk about
That's funny.
Well, shall we get back?
Sure.
it.
I know you said you were doing studies on this at one point, so I'm interested to see what kind of stuff you can bring forth on this topic.
It's.
Yeah.
I've got 5 minutes.
Come on, Chris, you can
Come
do it.
on. You got crunch time.
Come
5
on,
minutes.
you can do it.
Crunch. You can do it.
When I was younger, I was curious about a lot of this stuff, and I went to people who were in the know on this and tried to learn as much as I can. And, you know, just as much as anybody could nowadays probably Google and do a lot of research, there's things that are solid that you can understand, and there's things that aren't necessarily referred to in the Bible, but if you have discernment about it, you'll know that it's of God or not.
Yeah.
So that's the nutshell version of it.
Oh, yeah.
See, and to go back to it, I think this fits in an October spookiness.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. Just because all these different gifts of the spirit can be spooky to some people.
Well, yeah.
And spooky when they start happening to you and you don't realize what's going on, and then you got to research everything about it.
Yeah, and the words of knowledge, the words of knowledge and the words of wisdom can really freak people out if they don't believe in them.
Yeah.
So, I've done that. I've freaked people out with that.
So can healing,
Well, yeah.
especially very visible healing.
Right.
That can be a game
Like
changer.
a leg extending in front of you.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I couldn't imagine that, to be honest with you.
I totally thought it was smoke and mirrors. I was like, man, these guys are putting on a good show. And,
Yeah.
and then I walked around. I'm like, no, they're not putting on a show. This is legit.
Yeah. Well, and when I was younger, I went to a church that didn't believe that, the healing was active.
Yeah.
They didn't believe that the prophecy was active or any of that stuff. And that church that I was at, that I was the youth pastor of, they didn't believe in the healing or any of that stuff as for now. And I did, but I had never seen any kind of acts of healing. And I had this rash that I had on my arm that I'd had for months and I couldn't get rid of it. And I had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue from the time I was like 16-ish. I was diagnosed with it, but the doctor would refuse to write it on my medical record because he told me that it would stay on my medical record, and every time I went to the doctor, they would say, well, it's just your chronic fatigue, it's just your fibromyalgia. So he said, you do have this, but I'm not going to put it on your medical record. And it's a good thing he didn't, because I was watching the 700 Club of all things, and we just happened to be flipping through the channel, and we stopped on it. And I kid you not, we were on that channel for like 10, 15 seconds, and they said somebody has a rash and has chronic fatigue, and like they called out all the stuff that I have. You are being healed of this right now. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. That's me. And I didn't feel different that second, but I woke up the next morning, the rash was completely gone. I felt different. I haven't had the chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia since then. It was just gone the next morning when I woke up. So that was the first time I experienced healing, and it was wild to me because I didn't grow up in a church where I saw that all the time.
Yeah.
I believed in it. I believed that it was something that God could still do, but I hadn't seen it before. So it was wild for me to experience it for the first time, not see it for the first time.
Right.
And since then, I've been healed 2 other times of other things. So
And for the healing, I don't think If it's happened to me, I haven't recognized it. But the first time I saw something that happened right in front of my eyes, my wife's grandpa had a stroke. And he couldn't say more than like one word, and there was just a bunch of after that. And then, I kept praying. I know my wife was praying. I know other people were praying too. Then all of a sudden, he just started speaking full sentences. The flash in just a blink. And the nurses were blown away. The doctors were blown away. It's like they didn't think he should be coming back from it. All of a sudden, he's speaking full sentences. He's back to driving now. They're trying to keep him from working. Good luck with that. He's one of those guys that grew up a farm kid and farmed all his life, and he's in his 80s now and still wants to farm. But
Good man.
yeah, different breed, different generation.
Yeah,
of people.
yeah. I had one of my other experiences getting healed. I got healed here. We went to this conference that we had. I don't remember what they called it. It was like 3 days. It was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and or maybe it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't remember, but it was like 3 or 4 days, and we had a bunch of pastors come from out of town, and it was right before Easter, like 2 years ago, I want to say, and they had people come up front that had prophetic words and words of knowledge and stuff like that, and the gift, and some of them had the gift of healing, and one of them said, I want to pray for you if you have migraines, and I went up there because I was diagnosed with migraines when I was 18 months old, so I've had them my entire life. And I went up there and I told the lady, I said, I've been healed before and I believe in healing and I believe this word is for me. I have migraines. I've had them since I was 18 months old. And she goes, oh, I have another word for you. And then she told me, she said, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said she saw a picture of an old truck and God was fixing little things on it to make it functional. And she said, that word is for you. He has never left you, has never forsaken you. And he's repairing you to do great works or something along those lines. And, I haven't had a migraine since. And it's not something you can visibly see, but I haven't had a single migraine since. And I used to have them, like once a week. Mm-hmm. So, and they were debilitating when I'd get one. I'd have to take some leave and lay down and go to sleep for a couple hours to get rid of them.
That kind of reminds me of Pastor Holly's story where she was kind of like second guessing whether or not she should be a pastor. Mm-hmm. And then she had that dream of this toolbox and where she said she's going to look in here. If it's empty, she knows she's not supposed to do it or whatnot. She looked in, saw it was empty, but then she saw people coming in and putting a tool inside that toolbox and took it as she's going to be given all the tools she needs. Mm-hmm. And I think she's a great children's pastor, if you ask me.
Ever seen her sing? She seems great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 6:17 now.
I know.
What time do you got to go?
6:15.
Right now? Right meow?
Right now.
Is it time?
It is time. What is that? That's like a Lion King thing, isn't it? Like Disney, they do the
We
whole...
need to get you some Halloween soundboard stuff for the spooky month.
I should look into that. I've been so busy this week. I wanted to do all that and have not had a chance at all. The past 2 weeks, honestly, I've been constantly busy. I haven't even been home, really, besides yesterday to clean up outside. And we were cutting wood up until about 8:30 last night.
You gonna have a bonfire?
Eventually, it's all too wet right now.
Oh, heard that.
Probably a year or two before we could really burn it, but we got a big old pile going right now, and I'm going to add to it.
Heard that.
Well, shall we say goodbye to you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Na 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 na.
Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye.
Wait,
Where are you
saying
going?
goodbye
Sam's Club or
No, just over to Domino's.
Are we saying
I
goodbye to
love
him
Domino's.
or the podcast?
to Chris? He's going to go get pizza for tonight.
Yeah,
It's game night again, by the way, people. So that's why Chris is going to be heading out here. He's part of that. I don't know, group,
Yeah.
part of that leadership.
We're co-leaders. She and I and the other two. The Voting Halls.
Melissa?
Yeah, Justin and Melissa.
Yeah.
Justin was on here, 5 or so episodes back?
Something
5,
like
6
that,
episodes,
yeah.
something like that, for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. He was technically our first guest, right?
Yeah, I think
This season.
Yeah. All right.
Did you get 2 or 1? What kind?
The pizza's done. I'm getting her gluten-free, so they're not for us.
Oh, they're for Holly.
Correct.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's still food. It's not like she's gonna eat an entire large by herself, you know.
Well, actually, Domino's, they only do gluten-free and small,
Really?
which is stupid, in my
I mean,
opinion.
that is a little backstabby.
I mean, everybody
have it
can
in-
eat pizza, and I'm pretty sure people that like
Yeah.
gluten-free pizza will eat pizza.
Yeah.
Still, but only small, so it stinks.
I was hoping to pick your brain a little bit.
Well, I could do that. Yeah. Did you tell him what we pulled on Chris?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So apparently you pulled something on Chris.
You can tell us about the prank on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. It's been too busy of a week for me to think back at anything.
We went. Chris was. I think it was the last. Might have been last week. I've been on vacation for about a week and some days, and it's been wonderful. And we went to get Chris from Children's Church,
Oh yes, the
and Pastor
Holly. Yeah.
Pastor Holly. We told Pastor Holly who I was, that I was
Yeah.
Chris's mother. And she took the microphone and said, "Chris Lease, your mother is here to get you." and all
That is
these
great.
all these little kids turned around and looked. And this one little boy, he came over to me, and he said, "Are you really Chris's mother?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Okay." And he was gone.
And the best part of that story is it was your son.
Oh, was it? I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all.
Yep.
But it was so cute to see not only the children's face, but Chris's mom was there, but Chris's face when he heard it. So it was a special time.
Yep. That was so funny.
I have been, my oldest sister is going to be 85 at the end of this month. And my younger sister and I went over to Illinois to visit her. And we told her right up front, we don't drive in Illinois that late in October because they can have snow, and I don't
Oh, yeah.
like driving in
Yeah.
that kind of weather. But it's been a fun trip. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So I kind of want to go into one that I've been kind of experiencing lately, and it's one that's not on the list,
Okay.
but I read on it's the gift of deliverance,
Okay.
which is kind of along the lines where Jesus sent everybody out to go and said, "You will have the power to cast out demons or whatnot." Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read what the definition I got here. The gift of deliverance is a special ability that God gives to certain members to serve as human intermediaries through whom it pleases God to set free those who are in bondage. This includes casting out demons and evil spirits. By the way, I practiced the word intermediaries at least 6 times before anybody ever showed up. And here's the reason I've been looking into this. Shortly after I really fell head over heels into Christianity here, I realized that we have the authority, which means you have the authority over evil and all that. And we had something that I'm going to talk about in maybe next podcast, the podcast after, where something happened in our house. And basically I ended up telling whatever was there, only God and Jesus are allowed here, get out of my house. And I'll talk about more how that felt later on, because this was stuff that I've never felt before. But it was gone. And then I ended up having dreams. And this happened multiple times now, where I've had the first time it happened, it was something. I can't really describe what it looked like, but I could tell that I was not in my house, but it felt like I was there spiritually, like almost an outer body type experience. And I grabbed this thing and it started freaking out, and I was telling it to get out. You're not allowed here. And then just recently, I had a dream to where I was rebuilding something, and it was earth, but it wasn't earth at the same time. It was like a spiritual realm to me. And then somebody came running to me, and this other person, I don't know who it was, but I knew he was my partner, like a partner in crime kind of thing, like best friends kind of deal. And they were telling us that we need help. There's evil underneath this barn that they're living in or something. And we went down in there, and I was just like all annoyed because I was working on rebuilding, and I had to get these certain bolts that were metric size that I had a hard time finding. But I was annoyed, and I got down in there, and there was this kind of evil creature again, but it was more like both these like humanoid kind of looking. But this time, this one was like super darked out, silhouetted. But it wasn't right. But I was annoyed that I had to go deal with this because I had other stuff to do, and I just started yelling at it. In the name of the Father, the Son, you are not allowed here. And then I woke myself up because apparently I started yelling out loud in the name of the Father.
Did you wake up Shawnee?
Yeah. She started like, Chick, are you okay? And I just started laughing because it's like I was annoyed by it, and I thought it was funny how I was so annoyed. But it's like at the same time, I'm getting rid of these things. So it's like I ended up looking into that, and it's not uncommon for certain people in the Christian world to have these dreams. And there was a lot of it saying you're being called to a certain type of ministry and to possibly deliver people from that sort of thing.
I'd like to say something about
Yes.
bondage. Bondage doesn't necessarily have to be a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Bondage can be unforgiveness towards someone or fear of something. You know, like some people have fear of heights.
Yeah.
It can work on people so much that it can actually become a bondage. And you can be set free from all that by simply, allowing God to heal you of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there can be tremendous freedom through forgiveness. Forgiving people who have hurt you is one of the hardest things you'll ever do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But through Christ, you can.
I have a story to go along with what you just said.
I'll say I have one too. Go ahead. You go first.
So my ex-stepdad, he cheated on my mom, and he was supposed to be my dad. I was a little kid and all this. And he did a lot of things to us, like abusive-wise and all this. But I went to a church service where it's people that used to go to this church, but then started their own little one, and it was in a hotel across town. And it was one of my wife's friends was going there, so we went, and they're kind of leaning more Pentecostal and stuff. I forget what they were calling themselves. I don't remember what the preacher was saying, but something struck me that I needed to forgive my ex-stepdad that day. Like, it was a powerful force that call your ex-stepdad. Look, it said his name at the time. I'm not saying his name.
No.
So call him, forgive him now. And I did that while I was crying on the phone to the guy, which is weird for me. I was, big macho man, in the service and stuff, and called him. And then that was like a humongous weight lifted off. It's like something I never thought I would do is forgive the dude. And I've talked with him since, and I've got no harsh feelings towards him.
Yep.
So mine, for, I want to say maybe 8 to 10 years, I had asthma. And anytime I was around cigarette smoke at all, I would go into a full-blown asthma attack.
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading a book on forgiveness, and God said, you need to forgive your dad. If you forgive your dad, you will be healed of the asthma. And it's completely gone now. I still have a smoke allergy, but I don't go into full-blown asthma attacks. It used to be so bad that I would go around my dad, and I would just, if I smelled the smoke, I would just start having an asthma attack, and then I would be sick for weeks after that. So I had to forgive my dad. I don't have any hard feelings against him anymore. I mean, like when I was a kid and when I was a teenager and even into adulthood, I really didn't like him at all because we have bad history. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I get the whole smoke thing with asthma too, because I've got my inhaler here right now, and my mom smoked my entire life until she finally moved out of my house.
Oh.
And then she quit smoking. But I understand that. It was horrible. If you have somebody around you with asthma, do not smoke around them, please. It is horrible, and when you have an asthma attack, it feels like you're dying.
Yeah, it does.
Like an elephant is literally stepping on your chest and you can't breathe.
Yeah. But I don't have asthma at all anymore.
Lucky. Mine's all normally like allergy related anymore. Like I used to have it real bad with exercise, and I don't anymore.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought up the spirit of deliverance still is because that's like the only thing I can figure out that goes along with these dreams I'm having that to me feel ultra realistic. Mm-hmm. And I don't usually remember dreams, but I'm remembering these, and I'm doing stuff like making decisions in these dreams. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I wanted to pick your brain on it because I'm wondering, have you ever heard of anything like this? Because I know you're a lot more developed in this than I am.
What you need to do, okay, is write down what you kind of remember of this dream so that you can visualize it. When you have a dream like that, you need to visualize it on paper. I mean, if you have to draw, if you happen to be talented enough that you can draw more than a straight line, try and draw it, because I don't know what direction God is going with you in that, but it may be, or it may be making you aware of a situation. When God does things like that, sometimes it's a pay attention to what's going on in certain areas, okay? Just simple little things, lots of things that happen to us. People say it's coincidence.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of agree with Leroy Jethro Gibbs. There's no such thing as coincidence, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever watched NCIS, but he said
Yes, I have. With a Gibbs smack. Yep.
And when you're traveling, sometimes, and this has happened to me twice. When you're traveling, sometimes, for some reason, maybe in my one particular case, I was pregnant, so I made my husband stop at a gas station sooner than because we were only like 15 miles from where we were going. But I said, no, we're stopping. And I went in and used the restroom like you do.
Yep.
We came back out, and as I got in the car, this ambulance went whipping by us. We went down the road, probably 6-8 miles, and there had been a car wreck. Now, had I not had my husband stop, this guy had crossed the center line, hit another car head on. That would have been us. And so sometimes just a little thing like stop and get a bottle of pop, is actual warning. One other time, anybody that knows me, I am one of these, I can tell you a lot of things about a lot of areas. Do not ask me about anything when it comes to computers and cell phones. Because I am not technically brilliant in any of that. And I was traveling, and there was a detour, which I hate detours, but there was a detour, and it was very poorly marked. And here I am trying to get my little, whatever those things are called in your car, the little map thing.
Your GPS.
Yeah, my GPS. I was trying to get the GPS to work, and I couldn't get it. The way the sun was hitting the screen, I couldn't see it. So there was this little town, and I thought, I'll just pull in there. So I pulled in. I went in and got a bottle of pop, and I asked the little gal in there if she knew how to set one of them things. And, of course, young people, they all know how to do that.
Yep.
She said, I'll set it for you. So she came out. She had trouble, so I didn't feel so bad. So after we got it set and I got back on the road, I went about 3 miles, and there was a real bad car accident. Now, was it quote unquote coincidence, or was it God's way of stopping me from being there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Only God knows the answer to that, but I kind of like to believe that God protected me in that incident.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's freedoms from any kind of bondage. You can ask God to help you understand it. Mm-hmm. You can even say, in and of my own self, I cannot forgive this person, but through Jesus Christ, I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And because everybody has gone through different things in their life and been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
My father was an orphan, and his brother and 2 sisters were put in an orphanage way back when, okay? And the father, at that time, the way the laws were really screwy, the father would not allow any of those children to be adopted. And my dad was 2 years old. And I'm sure that through my dad's life, it wasn't pleasant, because that type of orphanage, if you've ever seen the movie Annie,
Yeah.
that's the kind of orphanage my dad grew up in, except the people were real nice. They weren't like it is in the movie. But he never learned what a family was like. And so he had growing pains in learning to be a father, and learning. He had love. He was very much a loving father. But just the normal things of doing things with children, he didn't really understand it because he didn't have that. And like he told me for Christmas, and this just broke my heart as a kid, for Christmas in that orphanage, they got either a pair of socks or a pair of mittens, and either an apple or an orange, and that was their Christmas. Yeah, the only toy he ever had was a Duncan of all brands, but a Duncan yo-yo that his brother had saved up pop bottle money from and bought his little brother that toy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and my dad it would have been back in the early 20s, I suppose, when my dad was little. And to listen to him tell stories, one of the things that we never had as kids was pasta. Because in the orphanage, you got macaroni cheese, spaghetti, and all kinds of things that were pasta. So we never got it in our house. We had like pork chops and roasts and stuff like that. And my little sister and my mom always cooked plenty, okay? So what was left over, and I finally told my mom about this years ago, what was left over of the pork chops and the roast, we would take next door to the neighbor lady who had 3 little kids, and we would swap that meat if she'd make us macaroni and cheese.
Wow, that's part of the reason I don't eat tuna now. It's because there was a solid year that's all we had was tuna this, tuna that. Especially a lot of tuna helper, and I can't do it. I will eat a tuna sandwich from Subway, but that's not really tuna. No. There's other fish stuff in there, but yeah, I cannot do tuna. You got a smirk going over there.
Chris is being naughty. He was
Chris
sending me
is being
text
naughty.
messages.
Chris is acting as an audience member.
He's snorkeling over there in the distance. Yeah.
He was sending me messages. He was being naughty.
He tried really hard not to giggle that like loud. So props to you, man.
I did.
Props to you.
Yep. Yeah, so like when stuff happens to me, I do a lot of research trying to find other people that have similar things. And I guess what the dreams I've been having, it's actually been fairly common, and it's blowing my mind. It's like I've never heard anybody talk about it. So that's why I'm bringing it up. It's like, if that's happening, talk about it. And it's like, I don't know what Frank or any of them would say about it, but it's something that's got me confused because like after the first couple of instances, I was kind of sitting there in prayer, and I told God, I was a warrior here in the physical on earth. If you need me to be a warrior, I will do it for you. And then I started having more of these, including my burning bush moment happened shortly after that. Whereas I got the command, follow me, basically. So that blew me away. So I've been trying to wrap my head around this, and the closest thing I come up with is the gift of deliverance. That covers a lot of that. Yeah.
Some of it may be the gift of prophecy as well, with the dreams and the visions. I had a dream, and I'm going to cut out most of it because it had weird stuff in it too, just like yours did. But the main thing that was in the dream, and this is a trigger warning because this is brutal.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning, yeah, for anybody that wants to skip ahead like a minute or so. So in this dream, I was at my house in Kansas City, and one of my friends from Atchison was in the kitchen with me.
It's a creepy town, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's the most haunted town in the United States. But anyway, she came into the kitchen, and she brought an infant into the kitchen, and she set it up on the counter, and then she said, I would like a pound of hamburger. And then she like ran the baby through the meat grinder. Oof. And at the time, I wasn't going to church, and the churches I had been to didn't believe in the gift of prophecy. It was a really weird dream. It had some other stuff in it that wasn't prophetic. And I thought, oh, that's just a really weird dream. I didn't understand. But it was like a year later, she got pregnant and had an abortion. And that was prophetic for what was going to happen But by that time, I was back in Kansas City, and I heard about it like third party. So I wasn't there to even say anything to her.
Right.
But that was one of the dreams that, kind of reinforced, oh, you've got a gift of prophecy. Because,
So it's stuff like that we need to pray and talk to God about and see, like, hey, what do you want me to do? Or what
yeah.
is telling
And
me?
what does this mean? Yeah. Because, it could have been a crazy I ate something weird the night before dream. But in that case, it wasn't. It had a lot of other just like weird stuff, like basketball-sized spiders that were neon green, glow in the dark.
No, stop it. Stop it. No, I'll be Ron Weasley with that one and freak out.
And hundreds of Rottweiler puppies all over the backyard. I mean, it had some other stuff in it that was weird. There was a guy that was in the crisper door of the refrigerator, and he was like, the refrigerator was like giant, and I opened the door, and he was in there, and he sat up, and he was wearing like the round nerdy glasses and suspenders, and
That's wow.
he just and he was laying on a piece of lettuce, and he was covered up with a piece of roast beef. So like I opened the door, and it was like giant, and he was normal sized, and he like sat up and just looked at me and waved. So there was a lot of other stuff in that dream that was not prophetic at all. That was just a weird dream. So it wasn't easy to interpret, but yeah.
Wow. I kind of just got this thought about that dream I was telling you about, where I was like in a rebuilding or something. Mm-hmm. Just like what I just got was, I'm going to be helping rebuild or build something that's to help others, but along the way I will be facing evil, or not necessarily evil, but resistant forces. Mm-hmm. But to have no fear, because you have the authority and the power of God behind you. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what just happened to me. Sorry, while you were talking, that's what hit my head.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like, that makes a lot of sense, especially with like how over the summer I was having a lot of thoughts if I should keep this going, and I kept getting reaffirming things back at me for that.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
Weird.
Something that might help you a little bit. When I was working, they used to tease me a lot. Now, for the people that don't know me, I'm 5 foot nothing. Okay, I'm 5'1", and I was in a position of management where I worked. And when there was a problem and they called management to the front, I would be the one that'd have to go up there. And they would all laugh when I would go through the doors to go up there, because we had these big double doors. And I asked them one time, what's so funny? And they said, when you go through those double doors, you get 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And it wasn't that, quote unquote, I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, but I knew what my authority was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And therefore, I knew what I could do and what I could not do as management of that particular business. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't afraid of whatever I faced.
Right.
I went out one time, there was this couple arguing, and this gentleman was probably 6'4", maybe taller, probably twice as, well, probably 3 times bigger than I am. And I walked over to him, and I looked up at him, and I said, sir, you are going to have to change your language, calm down, and quiet down, or I'm going to have to ask you to leave. If you do not want to leave, I will guarantee you, I will call the police department and have you removed. Mm-hmm. Now, here's this great big guy, and you all know I'm just this little bitty short person. He looked down at me, and he went, I apologize, ma'am. I shouldn't behave that way in the store. And I said, no, you should not. No, please. And he left. And I went to the back room, and this one young man I was working with, he goes, do you realize you could have been a grease spot on the floor out there? But that's the way we have to learn to be in Christ. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have his power and his authority, and we can stand on that. And, that's why I wasn't afraid of those guys or people, when I was working, because I knew that I represented that company that I worked for, and I didn't have to put up with it. And we don't have to put up with it as Christians.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you realize you have that authority, that confidence comes with it.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a drill sergeant that was in basic training. It wasn't my platoon, it was the other platoon, but it was drill sergeant, I want to say, I don't know if it was drill sergeant Pitter. No, that was the scary one. But there was a little itty bitty gal, female drill sergeant, and she would make the biggest of guys whimper and like almost cry just because that authority she had.
Yep.
I mean, drill sergeants, they got to exhibit authority anyway, but she had this authority, and then it got to the point like halfway through basic training, drill sergeants kind of change a little bit, and it gets to the point where they basically you just follow them blindly.
Right.
That's what they do.
Right.
So yeah, so you can take that as once you get that authority, you're what's the word I'm looking for? Exhuming it. You're showing it. Then eventually, you might just get that following into it. For some reason, I'm wanting to ask you, what are your thoughts, John, right now? What are you thinking about?
I'm just kind of listening along, honestly. I don't have any questions. I just think it's an interesting conversation.
Okay. You don't have anything to throw in there with it?
No, not necessarily. I've been the highest ranking position I've ever held in the job really was as a residential assistant of a college. That was always interesting. There were a couple people. Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
It was extremely interesting.
Like in a dorm room?
What?
Like in a dorm?
Yeah, like
Oh,
at a
man.
dorm, and we constantly held events on campus, and as RAs, we would have to be a part of that. Couple interesting times where I had a friend RA who he was okay. I won't name his name, but he was an interesting fellow, quirky to say the least. One time I decided to go into his dorms, just kind of hang out with him. And I opened up his fridge after he told me, hey, give me a drink, whatever. And there was a small bowl filled with some kind of liquid and gummy bears. After, asking him, hey, what are these? He's like, it's gummy bears and vodka. And, this is Central Community College, so it's a dry campus.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have told on him,
Dry,
but I
quote
didn't.
unquote.
Yeah, it's not UNK. Sorry, UNK. But,
we all know that saying.
oh yeah. And there was another time. This actually does go more into the topic of having authority, because I don't really like confrontation. I don't think I'm the most confident person ever, but I will tell somebody if they're doing something wrong. There was a transfer student. I think he was from some region in Russia.
Mother Russia.
Yes.
Bah.
He was a very moody man
I can
and
see that.
constantly smoked. And this is also a tobacco-free campus. So I think I easily had to, basically tattletale on this person 20 times. Easily. Because he would always have a cigarette. And, he was not friendly at all, but every time I would ask him the same way, hey, you need to have your cigarette out. He'd always ignore me, and I'd put in a paper report. But every time he'd tell me to stop telling him, I would not stop telling him, because fitting in with the authority. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm a slightly heftier, bulkier guy, I still doesn't mean much for me. Just keeping in with it because you have the authority of a higher power.
Yeah.
You can take that back to a biblical sense where we are supposed to follow the laws of the land as well as the biblical laws. But you can keeping that going.
Certainly.
You were following the rules, following the laws. But there are times in leadership with the first experience where it is better not to pursue action against something,
Right.
but to let it ride.
Something like, following the rules of the law on the land. Personally, I think that's kind of a fine line, because sometimes I'm not, saying, haha, go out there, do some illegal stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also, I am sure, I've never experienced it myself, sometimes where there's something else you got to do than calling the police or, putting in a report. Just talking with them, for instance. It's just something, there has to be something simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes it's okay to break the rules. There are times when it is. There was this girl that was at my brother's bus stop. My brother's 2 years younger than me, and this girl was in between his age and mine, so she must have been like a year younger than me. But she was at his bus stop, and she would kick him in the nuts. She would push him in front of cars. She would do all this stuff. My mom called the school, and they're like, we can't do anything about it. It's at the bus stop. And my brother was really small when he was, in grade school. So my dad told him, he said, just hit her. He's like, but I can't hit girls. And he said, no, just hit her, and she'll stop bullying you. They can't do anything about it. It's at the bus stop. Well, my brother didn't. He just let her bully him the whole year. And then the next year, she decided to pick on me.
Oops.
And
Yeah.
well, at first, I just pretty much ignored her because I didn't care. I mean, she wasn't physical with me because I was bigger than her. So she would just make fun of me. She wasn't even supposed to be at that bus stop. Her bus stop was down the street. That was her best friend's house that my bus stop was in front of. So she was there hanging out with her best friend. So one day, happened to be Valentine's Day, I woke up late. I didn't get breakfast. I got in an argument with my mom, and I was really upset. I had painted a little heart on my face for Valentine's Day, and she decided to make fun of me. So what ended up happening was I told her to stop, and she didn't stop. I said, stop making fun of me and stop laughing at me, or I am going to hit you. And she continued to make fun of me. So I tried to throw my books at her and completely missed. My depth perception is terrible.
Yeah.
So then I hauled off and I hit her right in the face. And the mother at that house, her best friend's mom, who was on the PTA, by the way, comes running out. She'd been watching the whole thing.
All right.
And she starts screaming at me. I grab my books. I run home, and I'm crying because I'm like, I don't want to be in trouble. But I told my mom what happened. I missed the bus. She's like, you're not in trouble. I got to school, and they tried to punish me for it. And my mom and dad, they got it with the school, and they're like, you are not going to punish her for this because you let that girl abuse our son for 2 years at the bus stop. And so they didn't put it on my permanent record or anything like that, but they gave me my own bus stop after that.
That's awesome.
But it was one of those times where it was okay to break the rules because the rules weren't protecting me.
Right.
But
Unjust.
yeah, I'm not typically violent with people, but the great thing that came out of that was when I was at school, because I was in trouble right after I got there, they called me to the office. I was sitting in the office and I was crying. And one of the kids that was a bully, kind of a bully, not to all the kids, but some of the other boys, he came in and he sat down. He was in the office because he'd done something dumb. And he looks at me and he sees that I'm crying. And he's like, wait, are you in the office? And I said, yeah. He goes, what did you do? Because I never got in trouble for anything.
Right.
And I told him, I'm like, this girl at the bus stop, she was making fun of me and I was upset, so I punched her in the face. And he's like, you hit somebody? And I'm like, yes, I did. And he's like, his eyes got really big and he like scooted away from me on the bench. After that, I didn't get bullied at all. It was great.
Child version of going postal.
Yeah.
I mean, when you stand up for yourself, the bullying does stop.
Yeah.
But also note to self, don't make Stacy too mad. She will punch you in the face.
I don't know. First, she gets really quiet. She'll tell you, no, I can't talk to you right now. And then there'll be a discussion. There's nothing been physical.
Not yet.
There was one time where I made her really mad, though.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was about.
I don't know. I don't even think that was about the milk. Oh, it was just being a butt.
I don't remember. I remember being really mad at you that one time.
I know. Everybody seemed to be in a bad mood in the house for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it just kind of escalated from there.
Yep.
That's when you put on Tarzan or something and get it into a good mood.
I just told him I needed a few minutes.
Yeah. Then we had a good discussion
Yeah.
about it. It was good.
Yeah. I calmed down and then I came back and talked to him. I don't even remember what it was about.
What time is game night supposed to be again?
6:30.
We're a
Is
little
what
late.
you
Oh, we're 24 minutes over.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what. I kept going like this to Chris, but I feel like I should have been doing it with other people. I'm usually the person that
You
keeps.
should have been like,
Sorry. I don't have
That's
my
fine.
lightsaber with
Oh,
me,
for
so I
some-
can't tell you.
For some reason, I thought it started at 7, not 6:30.
well, it used to start at 7, I think.
Guys-
Everybody's 6:30, so we all get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, I suppose we could just like call it good here.
Yeah, I know next time, hopefully we have Brad on because then that might get a little spookier and it'll be a little later at night, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
that'd be
little dark outside.
That'd be fun.
We'll
Yeah.
get a little more on the spooky side of things because, Christianity can be real spooky when it comes to supernatural if you actually
Yeah.
delve into it.
Yeah.
Also, with your story of punching the guy in the face, Jesus flipped tables.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, flipped tables and whipped people. So
Yeah.
he wasn't above it when it was in the wrong.
First he said, and actually braided that whip.
Which makes it hurt worse.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you think about that. He sat there probably most of the day watching them and braided that whip before he ever went down there. So by the time he got down there, he was probably pretty calm. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about it. If, let's just say, your father owned a business, okay? And you saw the people that were supposed to be representing your father taking advantage of people and pocketing money on the side, because that's what he saw.
Yeah.
And he sat there and calmly braided a whip and went down there and cleaned house. And now, nowhere does it say he actually hit anybody with the whip, but he did crack the whip.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you've ever seen a black snake whip crack. I mean, that is loud. I mean, that would scare the tar out of most people. And to just go down there and do it, and then tip the tables all over, like, not in my house.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when my wife walked up behind me and a bunch of friends in our living room one time with her little handheld taser thing and hit that, and we all dispersed rather immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. I gave her several warnings before I hit her. I told her I was going to hit her if she didn't stop. She didn't believe me. I didn't just hit her. I did warn her.
You were fairly warned, and
Yeah.
you still kept going and punched in the face.
Yeah. Well, she was used to bullying my brother, and she thought she could push me around. She didn't realize that I had a little bit more of a backbone than my brother did.
See, I was always bigger than everybody else through school, so I always stopped the bullying.
Yeah.
I was the guy that would see the bullying and I'd put it to a stop. I remember being a freshman and standing up to all the seniors and all the other freshmen freaking out, and I'm like, I'm bigger than they are. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's call it there. Hopefully, we get Brad on next podcast. I'm looking forward to that. He's working on that, so I'm excited. We'll keep going with this. I think all the gifts they delve in the supernatural, so that certainly goes along with the October series,
Yeah.
and we will keep this going. Hopefully, I don't have a tornado go by my house again in the meantime, because that was really scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen them in the distance. Never had one go within 10, 15 feet of my house.
Yeah.
All right.
I knew you had down trees. I had no idea that you had a tornado come that close to
Oh,
your
yeah.
house.
It took out a giant Colorado blue spruce that had no rod or anything in it. It was just like 60, 70 feet tall tree, really huge.
Good grief.
Snapped it like it was nothing, like it was
Yeah.
a toothpick.
Rest in peace, tree.
Yeah, we've had 70-mile-an-hour winds come through and not do that much damage ever.
Yeah.
That and it ripped the trampoline out of the ground, and we had earth anchors in the ground with wire that we twisted, real thick gauge wire that we twisted and wrapped around it. We've had straight line winds hit our place before, never even moved the trampoline. And this pulled it out to where it stretched that wire and snapped it, wrapped it around another tree, and there's a post from the trampoline stabbed into the tree.
Nice.
And then we found another stick lodged in the ground where it like stabbed about a foot into the ground.
Wow.
I've seen straw driven into trees,
Oh, yeah.
just like nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures where like they did that in concrete from a tornado. So that's just nuts. I've never seen that in person or that close before in my life, and I will not see it again.
We lived in Iowa for quite a few years, and they get tornadoes there. And so I've seen a lot of weird stuff happen with tornadoes. A friend of ours lost their home, and the only thing left standing where their house had been was the front steps. That was it. And they found, now this dates me, but that's okay, I'm old. They found their record player about 5 miles from town in the middle of a cornfield, and the record on the record player wasn't even scratched. They found a box of Christmas tree ornaments that was theirs. Now, you know how fragile the old Christmas tree, I mean, they were that thin glass. Not a single one of them was broke. They found part of their house that was a closet with clothes in it, and it looked like somebody had taken their clothes and ran it through a paper shredder.
That's nuts.
Figure that out.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's nature.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, we are on YouTube. We are on Rumble.
Yes.
I remembered this time to say it. We are on Rumble. I'm putting videos up there slowly but surely. I had it set to where they were supposed to bring it all over from YouTube, but that is taking forever. So I've just been uploading them like once every few days. TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Podbean, Apple Podcasts. That's what it's called. Spotify. We're on everything. Give us a shout. Shoot us an email at toxincrocs@gmail.com. Leave your comments. We would all love to hear from you and answer any questions you have, or just hear thoughts you have on things we've talked about. Like I actually had Brad call me last Friday because he was listening to the episode where we brought up the Ark. I think it was the Ark.
Oh, nice.
No, it was Adam and Eve. Sorry.
Oh.
We were talking about Adam and Eve. If there was others besides that.
I think that
So
was the same podcast, though.
Was it the same?
I remember being there for both of them.
Yeah, it was your podcast. Yeah, I'm gonna call it your podcast. That was your podcast.
It was my podcast.
That was yours.
I'm the captain now.
you were the captain though. Do you know the way? All right. So we love you guys, and we will see you next time. We are out. Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.